All right, what qualifies as solo travel or solo adventure for me? So this is different for everybody, and I'm gonna describe kind of so I've done a solo adventure. I did a 17-day trip to Scotland, Heritage Travel Trip, HTT, to Scotland in July 2019, and the 17 days include travel to and from Scotland. And so I'm going to be speaking from experience, what qualifies as solo travel or a solo adventure or a solo hike or something like that in my eyes, because I had these ideas of what it would be to do something solo, and there's so many people in this world. We just live in a world with a lot of people, and that's the reality of the situation, at least at this point in time, where it can be hard to do things solo. And so I had these ideas of what it meant to me, and I was actually able to hold on to those ideas of what it means to me. So kind of I'm going to talk about what in my eyes qualifies as a solo trip, because with kind of my standards and qualifications for something being solo, travel, trip, adventure, hike, whatever, it requires a change in my behavior and conduct, as opposed to something that's like, I might call it like a half solo trip where I'm traveling by myself, but then I make friends and go a few places together or have a few meals together. So mine was, and there are people who are far more extreme than I was, and there are people who live this way day to day. So I understand that my standards are also not extreme. That for some people they may be, but not for all people. And so solo means that I travel by myself. So I air traveled by myself. No leg of my flights was with another person I knew. And I didn't actually make small talk with anybody I sat next to on the airplanes or at the airport. So there's for me, the solo travel component includes an isolation where I choose to do that unless I'm talking to workers. So that was the huge thing with my Scotland trip, was I ended up talking to workers and workers and workers and workers, which if I think about it is actually a good thing, because those are the people who live in the country I'm visiting anyway, versus if I'm talking to tourists, then I'm talking to people who may or may not be from the country I'm in themselves. So I was, in reflecting on it, I wouldn't have done my trip any other way. So yeah, I recommend my solo type of travel if you're interested in it. And so I ended up talking to workers, so like at stores or at the bed and breakfast I'm staying at, or if I'm at a restaurant or stores, ferries, that kind of stuff. So the workers at the ticket booth, at the ferry terminal, that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I talked to a bunch of workers. I might have talked to a couple people who in passing or at the same hostel or lodge or whatever, just because we had shared kitchens, or a shared kitchen at one of them. So in thinking of that, there might have been an exchange there. But yeah, other than that, I didn't really make small talk, and I don't even think I made small talk. It was more like enough talk to be like, okay, you're okay, and then let's continue on our separate ways. So solo travel, air travel is one. Solo on-ground transportation. So I got a rental car. So I rented my rental car. I was the only person who rode in my rental car. Even when I got a flat tire, they put a temporary tire on, and I drove with that one to the tire shop or the garage where I got it fixed. I don't think it was a garage. It's called a Quick Fit. It was United Kingdom, Scotland. So don't have that in America that I'm aware of. And so even then, I was the only one driving my car, and aside from the people who inspected it with me when I picked it up and inspected it with me when I dropped it off, nobody else rode my rental car. So that's pure solo, as I was alone in that car. Except for I did take Hedgie the Hedgehog, which is the stuffed animal, because I was slightly terrified to be traveling on my own, and I'm a sleepwalker, so having a little stuffed animal was like Hedgie will protect me if I sleepwalk. So yeah, it's that level of anxiety for me. I need that. And so, yeah, so I had a stuffed animal, was my travel companion. And so on some level, if you're like a huge stuffed animal enthusiast, you might not even call it a stuffed animal or a solo trip, because I had a stuffed animal, that kind of thing. There are extremes in this world. And so solo air travel with no small talk, solo rental car or ground transportation with no small talk, except for talking with the people who I rented the car from, who worked for the company that I rented the car from. So that's two big things. I did not have a meal with another person. I ate by myself. Hedgie the hedgehog would sometimes sit on the table. I'd pull her out and she would sit with me. But I did not share a table. I did not share a meal with anybody when I was in Scotland for my 17-day trip. I did not go shopping with anybody. I did not go to a location that I wanted to go with anybody. I went by myself. I did not make small talk at any of those places and be like, hey, where are you going? You have an interesting story. Let's go out for dinner, or let's go out for a meal or for coffee. I didn't do that at all. I did not coordinate my activities with anybody else. This is, in hindsight, I can't believe I actually pulled this off in some ways. Because people usually approach me, so I had to kind of have a different demeanor when I was traveling. And so, yeah, and I didn't, so there was no meeting somebody at a place and then being like, let's go to this town today together and do activities together. It was solo activities and solo trip planning. There was no, let's stay at the same place tonight, so no staying at the same place as someone else I met during travel kind of thing. Unless they were the workers at where I was staying. Or who, for all I know, there was a worker somewhere else and they were visiting or staying at one of the hotels. I don't know. So chance coincidences like that could have happened. But yeah, so, and then for hiking, I did go on a couple of hikes, and so I didn't talk to anybody while I was hiking. I went on a few hikes. I didn't talk to anybody while I was hiking, and I didn't align my hiking path with anybody. So like, I didn't go, oh, you're going here, I'm gonna go there too, let's meet up there, or something like that. So I didn't do any of that. I suppose I did take my tent and my sleeping bag, because I was originally going to do a 3-day backpacking trip while I was in Scotland. There was a place I wanted to go do a through hike, and I ended up choosing not to do that. And if I had done that, solo would have also been not camping with other people and not coordinating camping with other people. So some people call it a solo trip or a solo hike or something like that if they talk with the people at their campsite and stuff like that. Again, I realize to some people I'm extreme, but I'm also not like super extreme. I've known some of the super extreme people. I'm perhaps a moderate extreme. I don't know. To me, I'm just kind of like, I'm just trying to do my own thing. I guess I view myself as moderate. And so, yeah, so there's no, if I had done that on the camping and hiking perspective, it would be not hiking the same stretch as other people, not talking with people while I'm hiking, and not choosing the same campsite as other people because the other people are there, kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't know, it's kind of rambling to try and get that all in, and I probably forgot stuff. Yeah, but essentially it's don't talk to people unless you need to. Yeah, kind of thing, approach to traveling. And just for me, I had so many things I was and am trying to conquer fear-wise that it's enough motivation to kind of buckle down and get through my stuff. Like, there's a healing component to doing it by myself and a confidence building component, so that is a huge thing. And solo travel isn't the only type of travel I do, it's just one that I really need at this point in my life, so for self-growth. Yeah, so that's a bit about what for me qualifies as a solo travel or solo hike or solo trip or solo adventure. There we go.